Hello everyone, you read the title of the video, so let's get right into it. Here you can see a build that should be available to you once you get to Raging Brachy and will deal decent damage while maintaining a high survivability against him. The most important skills here are health boost, blast resistance and evade window, and if you really want to be sure, you use evade extender as well. Your Palico can run traps, healing or the choral orchestra buffs, and I always give my Palico a sleep weapon for a free wake up hit or a guaranteed wall bang. Raging Brachy has a lot of attacks that have two hitboxes, the initial physical hit by Brachydios and the following explosion, which makes iframing many attacks nearly impossible with switch axis side hops. Other weapons will fare better against it. But let's finally get to the fight. You can start the fight immediately by getting a wall bang and starting to tenderize Brachy. As long as he isn't enraged, I'd recommend trying to focus his arms and tenderizing at least one leg. Focusing the legs of Brachydios will knock it down eventually, leading to openings to focus more important parts. You carefully have to watch his slime. When it turns red, it will be knocked off by another attack and explode shortly after. This can ruin openings when he is down, so when his weak spots are glowing red, don't commit too much and only poke until the slime comes off, so you have time to evade. Brachydios has a lot of ranged attacks in its arsenal, so staying close to it is much safer than trying to outrun it. Dodge towards it or to the sides, but don't try to get away from it. You won't. Of course, Brachydios will try to create distance by doing his strafing punch or similar attacks, but he really can't use many scary attacks when you are chipping away at its legs and arms. Also, don't be afraid to use traps. You can capture him, but he's not an elder, so shock and pitfall traps both work just fine on him. Breaking his arms and head will stop the slime from accumulating on them and also stop these parts from dropping the slime constantly, which eases the fight, so you may consider bringing Part Breaker if you really want to. Flash pots can give you some room to breathe if you need to heal or sharpen your weapon. If you forgot to bring cool drinks, remember that at every entrance to the volcanic area there are mushrooms for you to collect. Check your gear and your items before going into the final stage, since you aren't allowed to leave. No, not even the Farcaster can save you here, and traps are also not allowed in this area. Take your time and restock, since the fight isn't over and is about to change. Raging Brachydios now enters a new state where his slime works differently and won't deal explosive damage anymore. Instead, it all turns to passive area of effect damage, because most attacks now spawn superheated puddles of slime underneath you, dealing lots of damage. If you have a health augment on your weapon, ignore the puddles and stay as aggressive as possible to upkeep your health. If you don't have the health augment yet, you can lure Brachy around a bit to safer areas, at least until those are covered as well, but he will take care of all the puddles at once eventually in one big explosive attack. When the camera zooms out, it is your time to step off the slime or dodge Brachy's roar and the exploding puddles. He actually even damages himself, but it isn't a lot. Take your time, watch your health, and eventually Brachydios will go down and you've beaten one of the tougher fights of Iceborne. For the last part of the fight, I can also recommend you some Astera Jerky, which can potentially help you dealing with the tick damage. Now that we have a general plan and idea of the fight, let's talk about certain attacks and openings. Early on, Raging Brachy will do his running attacks quite a lot if you let him. They are fairly easy to dodge with evade window, but don't leave a lot of room for getting damage in. Important is, however, that you follow him, dodge towards the side he comes at you with his arm lowered. That's where he will end up, and poke him, but he will most likely chain into another attack, so be careful. One attack he really likes to do is his jumping explosive attack. Here's a special tip for my fellow Switch X mains: always dodge towards its left side and start the morph sweep right next to it. Brachy moves backwards in his recovery, but you will move forward and all your attacks start on the right hand side, granting a lot of damage from this recovery animation. You should also be safe from slime drop from its arm here. If you need the tail, focus on Power X mode, but only go for the tail when he is down or in a shock trap. His tail attacks are quick and difficult to hit, simply because of his huge size, so save yourself the nerfs and just cut it when he's down. If you want to spam zero-sum discharges, do it on the legs and only on the head or arms when he is down. Brachy attacks 90% of the time with his upper body, but doesn't have a single kick attack, so his legs are relatively safe, though I mainly focus on Power X mode to break his parts and stay as mobile as possible. I do try to maintain my amped state simply out of force of habit. You can kill Brachy completely in X mode. It isn't a crime to focus X mode. It is amazing in Iceborne, and you will notice on this guy. Yet another infamous attack of his is the triple chain explosion, where Brachy rams his head into the ground, dragging it towards you, creating a line of explosions. He does that 3 times, 2 times directly towards you in a straight line, but the 3rd time he will always redirect towards the left or right, depending on where you stand. Dodge the first 2 attacks to either the left or right, and the last one away from or towards it. Dodging the last attack towards Brachy will leave you a brief chance to get some damage in, especially on its legs, potentially knocking it over. Whenever he runs to another area, the size of Brachy usually lets you hang onto him to catch a ride and tenderize him, or performing the riding ZSD if you are in amped state with Switch X. Another reason to stay close to him and really cool to pull off. He doesn't really have that much health for its size, sitting at roughly 28k for solo play, and the hit zones on his head and arms are really good, but he is fast, aggressive and huge, which is why we have to focus on creating as many openings as possible and profit from long recovery animations. If he beats you up, if you failed the quest, that is completely fine. He is a difficult fight and a tough monster. Take your time, watch him and try to learn his animations, and try to identify your issues with him. Are you getting hit too many times? Is the time running out? You don't get the part breaks you want? Pretty much anything has a solution, and I believe you can take him down. Let's recap everything we have learned in this video again. Your gear should include blast resistance. If you want, you can go for only 2 levels of blast resistance and then add coalescence to your build, profiting from blast blight. Pretty cool, but a bit risky. Evade window and extender are probably the best defensive skills I can recommend you, alongside divine blessing. Health boost is mandatory, I don't need to tell you. He is weak to ice, so Velkhana, Legiana or Barioth weapons will work great on him. Alternatively, poison is also a good option for that damage over time. And as for items, there isn't anything crazy you need for this particular fight over any other fight. Flash pots can let you catch a break, and wetfish scales let you sharpen more quickly, so yeah. Stay close to him during the fight, wallbang him as much as possible and stay mobile. Root wyverns trip if enough damage is done to their legs, so tenderize them and chip away at him. You can also try to get a mount on the various ledges and slopes around the different areas. For the Switch X mains, utilize the great movement of X mode and the highly damaging Power X mode to shut Brachy down as much as possible. In the final area, either stay super aggressive with health augment or lure Brachy around the arena to spots without many puddles, and beware of the devastating detonation attack. Thank you for watching, happy hunting guys.